Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. So, last week I talked about affirmations and how they can reprogram your brain and your way of thinking into being more susceptible to finding opportunities. Again, I want to stress that affirmations aren't magic. They're not going to change the reality around you like some people claim they do. They basically open up your mind to opportunities that you might not have otherwise seen. But the point of having affirmations, or the reason to write affirmations, is because you have goals in mind. And I wanted to talk briefly about how to find the goals that align with what you want to do with your life. And that sounds silly, but I think it's really important to have clearly defined goals. And that's not as easy as it sounds. So the first thing that you need to do, and I'm not going to be exhaustive about this because there's a ton of really great resources online about this, but I want to give you the quick primer because this is really kind of how you do it. I think that it's the most important way to do this is to start from the finish line and work backwards toward where you are now. So in 5 years, where do you want to be? Do you want to be financially independent? Do you want to not have to do a day job anymore so you can work on your art? Do you want to have a certain number of followers or a certain amount of income or an amount of, for lack of a better word, clout when it comes to advertisers or people online? And I think it's important to define your goals from 5 years out. And then you have something to work toward. So once you have your goals from 5 years out, you can make your goals from 4 years out that align with that trajectory. And then you can continue to working in that direction all the way back to, 1 year out and 6 months out and 3 months out and 1 month out. And that's not to say that things don't change. One of the most important things to remember with goals is that they should be flexible. They should not be something that can't be changed because life gets in the way. That's just how things work. And if life gets in the way, you want to make sure that you can modify your goals, and that doesn't affect things as much. So being something like, I want to be a millionaire in 5 years, that's not a good goal simply because it has like that really rigid structure around it. But if you want to say, I want to be financially independent in 5 years, I want to not have to have a day job to support my life so I can work on creative things. That's more, not only more realistic, but it's also more flexible because it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's more about the amount of money that you're spending on your day-to-day life and how you don't need a day job to support that anymore. So making sure that your goals are flexible in that way, where there are many avenues to achieving those goals is really important. It's also important to make goals that are achievable and aren't a fantasy. As nice as it is to dream about that stuff, it's also important to keep these goals grounded in reality, because if these goals aren't attainable, there's no point in trying to work toward them. And once you work backwards from that and you kind of get into the day-to-day life and understand what you need to do to make these goals happen, that's when affirmations come into play and how they can be beneficial to you, because they allow you to keep focused on those goals. You write the affirmations that align with the goals that you have. Like I said, one of my goals, or one of my affirmations from last time, is that the music I write brings community together, brings people together, brings and creates a community. And that's really important to me. One of the goals I have long term is to keep this 2-hour album challenge project running, and hopefully making more money in the future for charity and expanding out from just music to maybe game development and a bunch of other projects that can kind of orbit around not only the music that's being made, but also my general abstraction nuts community. And I think that there's a lot of really good opportunities there for that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to write affirmations that reminded me that the music that I write brings people together. The things that I do online bring people together, and just reminding me that I am forming a community, and through that community I will find success, and everybody will find success. And that's the important thing about communities, is that everybody achieves something together. So this is a little bit more of an abstract one, and I don't want to go into great detail on how to achieve your personal goals, but it's finding a goal that works for you, that is achievable, and that is flexible enough to change when life happens. And once you find that goal, and it's good to think like 5 years out. I think 10 years out. Some people say 10 or 20 years out, and I think that that's too far out. It's too difficult to imagine in a future. I like to say 5. But if you can imagine that 5 years out, then you can start planning backwards from there, and you can kind of figure out the projects and the steps that need to be taken through that. And once you have those steps, it's better and easier to write affirmations that align with those, to keep you focused on your goals. Because again, affirmations are about keeping you focused and keeping your perceptions open for opportunities that you might not have otherwise seen. And I think that's really all I have. I mean, there's so much you can talk about this, but I really want to keep this short, because otherwise it'd be like a 30-minute episode, and I'm just sitting in my car at work just talking to myself, and that's kind of weird. So thank you guys so much for being a patron and supporting this campaign. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you next week. Oops. Guess I got to hit the stop button. Be remarkable.